Welcome to Alphaletz. In this short video, we're going to show you how to set up a lease, where in a few clicks you'll be able to easily schedule all your rent payments. You'll also be able to add historical rents, automatically deduct letting fees, and automate emails. Anything you do in the web app will also be synced up to the mobile app. So let's start here with our first property. Let's assume at this point you have already added your property, and now it's time to add the tenancy agreement. So we can click here to add a lease. You can click here at the top of the page. You can go into the rent scheduler and click here to add a lease. Or you can go to the front of the dashboard page where you'll see a drop down and you can add a lease here as well. So let's go back to my properties. Let's find River Street, which is currently empty, and we're going to add our first lease. At this point, you can select your primary tenant. I'm going to pick David Green, but let's assume you can set up a new tenant here or from the side menu. I'm going to pick David Green, and I'm going to say that he moved in at the 1st of January this year. It's now November, so I'm going to go back in time. He moved in on a 12-month agreement, and his rent is £800 per calendar month. And I like to collect my rents on the 5th of the month, but this is totally optional, so I'm going to put in the 5th. And the system will automatically create a pro rata payment. Now at this point you have an option to deduct agency fees, like for instance a letting agent fee. If I click yes, it'll ask me how much. I'll put in £96, which is 10% plus VAT in our case here. And then it's going to ask me who I want to pay it to. So I'm going to use Countrywide Estate Agents. I think they're one of the biggest in the UK. HMRC give me different categories, so I'm going to use their terms here. And it's also saying, do I want to add a first payment? So I'm going to put in here £1,600 because David paid 2 months up front, so that would be 2 months rent up front. And he also added a £1,000 security deposit. And I'm also going to set up some automated emails. At any point in the app where you see a little question mark, if you're not quite sure what it means, just hover your mouse over that and it will explain it. And what I'm doing here is I'm saying that 45 days before the lease is due to end, I'm going to send him an email. I'm also going to send him an email 3 days before the rent is due. And I'm going to send him an email 1 day after the rent if it hasn't been paid. It automatically puts in his email address because I've added that in his tenant record. I can copy additional people, like if there were additional tenants there, and I can copy myself. This is our demo account, so it's picking up my email address there. That won't show up in his email, it'll just be blind copied to me, but I'll get a copy of that note. Now it's asking me if I want to reconcile all the historical payments. So I'm going to say yes, because he moved in on the 1st of January and it's now the 1st of November. So I click yes. And now what you can see is the status bar has updated itself here. If I click on the rent scheduler, I can now see that all those payments have been put into the schedule. So here I can see all the income, the rent payments. Here I can see all the fees. I can see they've been paid, and I can also see that the first payment is slightly lower because remember that was a pro rata payment. He moved in on the 1st of the month, but I like to collect the payments on the 5th of the month, which means the first and the last payments are actually a little bit smaller. Because we're not on the 5th of November, that payment is showing as an option to mark it paid once it arrives in. And when I mark all the payments complete, all my income, the rental payments will show up in the income tab, and all the expenses will show up in the expense tab. And if you notice at the top of the page where there's that red bar across the top, that'll total up any expenses where I can search on different types of expense and it will automatically calculate the payments. I can also click on the lease history. I can see that David moved in. I can see there's no arrears, which of course we love to see. If there were arrears, it would show up there and it would show up on the dashboard page. And when I come back to the overview page here, I can see my little status here, and that I can see it's due to end on the 31st of December and so on. So now I'm going to go on to edit and renewing a lease. So at any point I can click on any of these payments, and let's just say that instead of £700 coming in this particular month, we only got £700. So when I click OK, it's going to show that there's £100 still outstanding for March, and that will show up as a big warning in that sort of purple box there. And then when that payment comes in, I can mark it paid. So you can see I've got 2 payments there, and therefore the agent fees were slightly different because they tend to charge a percentage of what was received, and the system will automatically calculate that out. If for any reason I didn't get a payment, I can, when I hit delete, I'm not actually deleting that line, I'm just deleting the payment, and it's therefore showing me that that's outstanding. So that's just an example. I'm going to remark that paid because the payments are up to date. Now, if I want to end the lease, I can do that at any time I want. But obviously if I click on it and there's 2 payments to go, then the system will alert me to the fact that there are still 2 payments outstanding. So I could change the date here if I wanted to, if the tenant was moving out early, but I'm going to assume that he has stayed to the end of his term. I'm going to mark these 2 payments as paid. So I'm going to mark November and I'm going to mark December, and then it's going to say to me, do I want to end the lease or do I want to renew it? I'm going to click that I want to renew it, and then you'll notice that's the current end date. The new lease you would assume would start the next day, so that would be from the 1st. He wants to renew for another 6 months, and we're going to increase the rent slightly to $825 per month. So I would probably adjust the fees update slightly if it's a percentage. I'll just put that 98 so you can show as an example. He's not paying any rent up front, he's just carrying on with his existing payments. And now I can see the new schedule. So from the 1st of January, I can see that these payments are going to come in. If I want to look at any previous lease history, there's now a drop down where I can look at the current. Let's assume now we're in January of next year, and I can see the payments here. As they come in, I can just mark them as paid, and that will automatically calculate all the fees and so on. So now we can bring our historical payments up to date. We can deduct our letting agent fees automatically, set up automated emails, and schedule all the rent payments so they're really easy to see and track. If we can be of any help, please drop us a line at info@alphaletz.com, and we would love to help you get set up. Please also remember to follow us on our social media channels, because that's how we can keep you updated and stay in touch. Thank you very much.